Every adaptation makes changes to the source material, no matter how big or small, whether they're book accurate or are similar in name only. In today's video, I'm going to go through 10 differences between the Hunger Games book written by Suzanne Collins and the 2012 movie adaptation directed by Gary Ross. Naturally, there'll be spoilers for both the book and movie, so this is your last chance to click off before we continue. Number 1. First person perspective. Let's start with what is arguably the most significant difference between the book and movie. We're no longer confined to Katniss's first-person perspective, so we get to see what happens outside of the arena and gain further understanding of the decisions made during and after the Hunger Games. Number 2. Seneca Crane. Despite being the head game maker, Seneca Crane isn't even mentioned in the first book. He's an unseen character whose actions paved the way for rebellion, while the movie shows him commanding the game makers and the conversations he has with Haymitch and President Snow that leads to his fatal decision to crown Katniss and Peeta as joint victors. Number 3. Haymitch's notes. Instead of sending notes to Katniss with her sponsors' gifts, Haymitch's actions had to speak louder than words, as he could only communicate indirectly with her in the book. She had to interpret what he was trying to tell her, like when he didn't send her water because he knew she was close to a source. Number 4. The Mockingjay Pin. Instead of Katniss stumbling across it by chance in the Hob, her Mockingjay Pin is gifted to her by the mayor's daughter, Madge. It used to belong to her aunt, who we later learn was friends with Katniss's mother before she died in the second Quarterquell. Number 5. The Avox. Katniss recognises one of the Avoxes as the girl she and Gale watched get caught in the woods near District 12. Their shared history is omitted from the movie, but the Avox, Lavinia, can be seen as a background character in District 12's apartment at the training centre. Number 6. Dehydration. Escaping the cornucopia massacre with very little supplies, Katniss goes several days without water, nearly dying of dehydration, before she finds a small pond to drink from. This differs from the movie, where she finds a source relatively quickly, leaving her to worry about the careers and whatever twisted trick the game makers have up their sleeve. Number 7. Physical consequences. Coming up with a plan to destroy the career's food supplies, in the book, Katniss ends up deaf in her left ear after she triggers the landmine surrounding the cornucopia. While the Capitol is able to fix her hearing once the games end, they have to amputate Peeta's leg and replace it with a prosthetic due to the nature of his injuries. Number 8. The Cave. Katniss and Peeta shelter in the cave for days, unable to hunt like they do in the movie, and they're rewarded with a feast when they convince sponsors of their romance. Instead of waiting until Peeta's asleep and overcome with fever, Katniss takes away his autonomy by tricking him into eating sleep syrup so she can go to the cornucopia alone. Number 9. The Mutts. With a budget of $78 million, it's a shame they weren't able to make the Mutts even the slightest bit convincing by 2012 standards. To rub salt into the wound, they removed the most horrifying aspect about them, how they're an abomination against nature, created by the Capitol to resemble the dead tributes through their hair, clothing, even their eyes. Number 10. Cato's death. The more violent moments in the Hunger Games were toned down for the movie, Cato's death being one of them. In the book, his body armour prolongs the Mutts' attack for hours, as it stops them from finishing him off. Katniss and Peeta have to listen to him all night before dawn comes so she can use her last arrow to end his suffering. So, there we are. 10 differences between the Hunger Games book and movie. But of course, there's plenty more to discover, so don't forget to subscribe if you don't want to miss my next video, or visit my Patreon/Ko-fi page to support my channel. I've been Media Lord. Until next time, goodbye.